When I look back now, I can't help but replay that single moment, the day I laughed and said, "Why would we need a test?" If I could go back, I'd grab that version of myself by the shoulders and shake her until she realized what she was about to lose. But back then, life felt perfect. Or at least, it looked perfect on the surface. My name is Emily Carter, and a year ago, I thought I had everything I'd ever wanted. I had a husband who made me laugh, a cozy little house in Denver, and a job I actually liked. We'd been married for 6 years, me and Jason, my college sweetheart. We met at a campus coffee shop, one of those cliché moments where he spilled his drink on me and offered to buy another. He was funny, confident, and a little too charming for his own good. I was the quiet type, the one who took life a little too seriously. Somehow, we balanced each other out. Our love story wasn't extraordinary, but it felt steady. We built a life together from scratch, working late nights to pay off student loans and saving every penny to buy our first home. We used to joke that once we made it past the tough years, everything else would be smooth sailing. But life doesn't always keep its promises. It started small, little arguments that seemed to come out of nowhere. Jason had been traveling a lot for work, and every time he came back, he seemed a little more distant. I told myself it was just stress. I mean, who doesn't get tired? We'd talk late into the night, trying to reconnect. But slowly, our conversations turned into polite check-ins. How was your day? Fine. You eat yet? Yeah. It was like our marriage was becoming a routine rather than a relationship. Then, one evening in late February, everything began to unravel. Jason came home late again, smelling faintly of cologne I didn't recognize. When I asked about it, he brushed it off, saying he'd run into a client after work. I wanted to believe him, I really did. But something inside me whispered that something wasn't right. Still, I pushed it down. I had always trusted Jason completely. We had no secrets, or at least, that's what I thought. A few weeks later, my friend Lindsay came over. She's the kind of person who can spot trouble from a mile away. She'd seen me and Jason go through our ups and downs, but that day she looked at me differently. She said gently, "You've been so off lately. Is everything okay between you two?" I laughed it off. "Of course, we're fine. He's just busy." She gave me that look, the one that says, "You can lie to yourself, but you can't lie to me." Then she hesitated before saying, "You know, if you ever start doubting something, it's okay to ask for clarity. There are ways to know for sure." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She sighed. "You ever think about, I don't know, taking a test? Just to be sure he's being honest." I actually laughed. "A test? What are we, in high school? Why would we need a test? Jason's not like that." Those words came out easily, but deep down, I felt that quiet sting of denial. I didn't want to admit that something might be wrong, because if I did, it meant my entire life could come crashing down. So, I did what I always did, I ignored my gut. But denial only delays the inevitable. It was a Saturday morning when everything started to make sense, in the worst way possible. Jason was in the shower when his phone buzzed on the nightstand. Normally, I never went through his phone. We'd built our marriage on trust, or maybe on the illusion of it. But that day, something compelled me to look. Maybe it was intuition, or maybe it was desperation. I picked it up and saw a message that made my stomach drop. "I miss you already. Can't wait to see you again next week. Last night felt like a dream." The name attached wasn't one I recognized, Megan R. My heart pounded so hard I thought I might pass out. I scrolled, my hands shaking, and found weeks, no, months, of messages. Words of affection, plans for trips, inside jokes. It was like reading a love story that didn't belong to me. By the time Jason came out of the shower, I was sitting on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, tears streaming down my face. He froze. "Emily, what are you doing?" I held up the phone. "You tell me." For a second, he looked panicked. Then his expression hardened, as if he'd already prepared for this moment. "It's not what it looks like," he said, which, of course, was exactly what everyone says when it's exactly what it looks like. I stood up. "Then tell me what it is, Jason. Because I've been here, loving you, believing in us, while you've been, what? Having an affair." He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "It wasn't supposed to happen. We were just talking at first. She's from work. Things with us have been off. You've been distant." I felt the words cut deep. "So this is my fault now?" He didn't answer. The silence between us was deafening. I packed a bag that night and drove to my sister's house. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just knew I couldn't stay. My sister, Hannah, opened the door and hugged me without saying a word. She didn't need to. She knew. For the first week, I couldn't stop crying. Every corner of that house reminded me of him, the life we built, the plans we made. I kept replaying our last fight, wondering if there had been a way to fix it before it all fell apart. Then came the final blow. A month after I left, I found out that Megan, the woman from the messages, was pregnant. And the worst part, Jason didn't deny it. When I asked him about it, his words echoed in my head for days. I didn't mean for it to happen, but I can't walk away from her now. That was it, the final nail in the coffin of our marriage. I remember whispering to myself through tears, why would we need a test? I used to think that love could survive anything. But love isn't a shield, it's a choice. And sometimes, one person stops choosing it long before the other realizes. The divorce was messy. The house we bought together was sold, and the savings we'd worked so hard for got split in half. I moved into a small apartment on the edge of town, a place that didn't have memories attached to it. It was quiet, lonely, and empty. But it was mine. For months, I lived in survival mode. Wake up, go to work, come home, repeat. My coworkers tried to cheer me up, but I wasn't ready to talk. It felt like my identity had been ripped away. I wasn't Jason's wife anymore. I was just Emily. One evening, while unpacking the last of my boxes, I found an old photo album from our college days. There we were, laughing, young, and full of dreams. For a moment, I felt anger. How could something that started with so much love end with so much pain? But then I realized, that wasn't the whole story. I wasn't angry because of what I lost. I was angry because I forgot who I was before him. That realization changed everything. I decided to start therapy. At first, I hated it. Sitting in a room, talking about feelings I'd buried deep down, it felt unbearable. But my therapist, Parker, was patient. She helped me see that healing wasn't about forgetting what happened, but understanding it. She asked me one day, Emily, what if this ending isn't punishment, but permission? Permission to start again. That question stuck with me. I began taking small steps toward rebuilding my life. I started running again, something I'd given up years ago. I went out with friends, reconnected with Lindsay, and even joined a local art class. It wasn't about replacing what I lost, it was about rediscovering myself. Months turned into a year, and slowly, the pain started to fade. I stopped checking Jason's social media. I stopped wondering what could have been. Instead, I focused on what could be. One afternoon, while painting a landscape in class, a man named Ryan sat next to me. He was quiet at first, but his kindness was easy to see. We talked about everything, art, travel, music. He'd been through his own heartbreak, too. There was no spark at first, no rush, no grand gestures. Just peace. And for the first time in a long time, I realized that peace felt better than passion. We started meeting for coffee after class, and little by little, I began to smile again. Not the kind of smile you fake to get through the day, but the kind that comes from a place of real joy. One night, as we sat on a park bench watching the sunset, Ryan said softly, "You've got this light in you, Emily. Don't let what happened take that away." Tears filled my eyes, but this time, they weren't from pain. Because he was right. I had lost everything once, but in losing it, I found something far more valuable, myself. It's been 2 years since the day I said, "Why would we need a test?" And walked into a storm I didn't see coming. I'm still rebuilding. I don't have all the answers, and maybe I never will. But I'm no longer afraid of starting over. Now, when people ask about my story, I tell them the truth. I tell them that sometimes the hardest endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings. And as I stand in my small apartment, surrounded by art, laughter, and friends who became family, I realize I didn't start over with nothing. I started over with me.